Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
UFC 300, right? So there's so much to talk about, but we're going to focus on two fights, and I would love to get your opinions on them. Of course, number one, Kayla Harrison versus Holly Holm. What you think of that?
Well, I've only seen it once, so in order for me to give you like, just going off memory, but I remember thinking it was quite strange that the way Holly Holm approached the fight. Not saying that she didn't do a phenomenal job at the first reversal, but with somebody as physically strong as Kayla Harrison, with the weight cut that she had, maybe like movement and attacking to the body a little bit using her kicks and her punches, I just thought would have been more of a I don't know, like a different approach that she might have taken. Even the commentators were saying that they was quite strange. But don't get me wrong, she did at one point reverse Kayla Harrison. So it's not like she doesn't have the skill. But when you're going against a two-time judo champion, you kind of want it to be like later on where things are a bit more labored.
Yeah, for sure. And when I saw Holly Holm being matched up against Kayla Harrison, I thought Holly Holm likes to clinch a lot in her fights, and that's not the position you want to be in with Kayla Harrison. And I thought once they get into that position, Kayla Harrison is going to be in full control and get the finish, and that's what happened. Do you feel like she's the future champ? I'm going to tell you, I think she's going to be the champion.
I think skill-wise, definitely. The only thing that I can see as a certain factor would be her making the weight several times. If she gets fast-tracked where she doesn't, and this is not fight skill related at all. This is purely weight making. If she gets fast-tracked so it's like a few fights and then it's the title, I don't think there would be that much of an issue. But let's say she has to have like 3 to 4. I think the weight cut might get to her before any opponent, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just because she's so big.
True. I agree with that. That's something that we need to keep our eye on. The other fight, Zhang Weili versus Yan Xiaonan. Zhang Weili, she's been grappling a lot more. And I told people ahead of the fight, Josh Hinger's been working with her. That's the reason why she's been grappling a lot more. And she trains out at Bangtao with the Hickman brothers with the wrestling and stuff like that. But it was a great game plan. She went in there and did a great job. When do you think she's going to be able to surpass Joanna, though? Because it seems like everybody thinks Joanna is the best strawweight ever.
I think it's funny the way I view it sometimes. It's because we have this kind of nostalgic view of fighters, right? We remember them when they got started and how they shaped the division. So in that way, in the impact that Joanna has had on the division, it would take Zhang Weili, I feel, a lot more, but it's not skill wise the comparison that is being made. I feel it's more impact to the division. Of course, she came in, she put, the strawweight division, everybody was looking at her, all the title defenses. And now if we see it maybe skill for skill, we see Zhang Weili being maybe higher, implementing more aspects of MMA and just great game plans each and every time. We see how physically strong and complete that she is. But I feel when people talk about it, maybe it's not as skill wise. Maybe it's more, because like, for example, like Ronda Rousey, she came in and she built the division. Although I feel Joanna Jędrzejczyk is a phenomenal fighter and she keep winning as she fights. But for me, the Zhang Weili will get that recognition maybe a little bit later on. Like we saw how long it took a little bit more for Amanda Nunes to get that same level than it did for Ronda, just because she wasn't like the first one setting out the base or the standard for the division.
Yeah, I completely agree with that too as well. Yeah, it's a great comparison with Ronda Rousey, right? Joanna did build the division and made it to what it was, and now you got the next level of fighter like a Zhang Weili, but it will take some time. To you now, 2023, your comeback year, you had 2 fights, 2 victories, 30 minutes of cage time. I feel like that is going to be so important moving into 2024. How was last year, just summing it up for yourself?
It was a roller coaster of growth is how I feel last year was, because there was so many different emotions just from coming back to having this uncertainty of the things I've been working on was going to work, having this uncertainty if because I have Dan as my coach, and I have no doubt that what he's saying, because logically it makes so much sense to me if you filter that with the amount of fights that he watched and everything. But he doesn't really coach anybody else, so I felt a little bit of pressure just to showcase that if I don't succeed, it's my inadequacy. It wasn't regarding any of the coaching or any of the knowledge that has been shared to me. Um, so yeah, I kind of felt that, because when fighters go in there, or for me, when I step in there, I feel like I represent not only myself but everybody who's put time and effort into me, and of course these people, if you speak to them, they just they're just happy to help you out with their journey. Of course, they love the sport as well, so they want to share that with you. But with that, you wanna give something back, and I don't feel like there's anything better than having a move that they taught you work, and then them feeling that sort of that shared happiness. So a lot of that, especially because I've failed in that regard numerous times before.
Yeah, you mentioned the team around you, and you and your team are very analytical. What were some of the things you needed to focus on more or build more heading into this year, 2024?
I think right now a lot of it has to do with refining things. Once you get like certain things or certain patterns down, you have to spend some time at making them better, like making those holes smaller, making the opportunities for your opponent to take advantage of. Just narrowing that gap and making it smaller. And for me, a lot of that has come to it because I've spent many years doing martial arts just all over the world and stuff, and just kind of picking up pieces from everywhere, but not really knowing how to put them together or to apply them. And sometimes I feel I would overcomplicate myself, and things would get out of hand, and I would be very confused as to, I'm like, why, if I have all these techniques, it's not working, or I'll use it the wrong technique at the wrong time or at the wrong distance. So for me, this year has been a lot about understanding, like a more of an understanding of how to put pieces together instead of just how to do the pieces. Well, doing the pieces wouldn't make much sense, but okay. Hopefully you get what I mean.
Oh, yeah, I understand. You are in New York right now. What is the purpose of your visit?
Yes, can't see very well, but I train at Renzo Gracie's when I'm here. I did it for last camp as well, and it actually started when I came, because I'd come before to New York, and I remember just coming into the blue basement and being in awe of everything, because I've always been a very big fan. Um, but it was during one of the events that Dan did with PFL in New York, and we happened to stay right around the corner, and that's when kind of the connection started. They're all, they hold Dan in very high regard, which is like, it's really cool because everybody there is very helpful, and they always, not only are they very nice and respectful, but they also look for ways to help me out based on that they have for him. So that's really cool. And just I found that it was great for me on that for the last camp, and I wanted to repeat that, especially because I'm fighting in the U.S. So not only does it help me with jet lag or anything that I might have, the travel, the flights, so you can retain a lot of liquid and not really adjust to the time, but the grappling is phenomenal here. It's a thing of it's an art form the way they teach. It's a university. I don't even know how to explain it. Like today they were going over some details that I just thought, oh my goodness, like is everything I've been taught in jiu-jitsu like a bit wrong? Like have I just been taught grappling just wrong? Or just like a misconception, like if you play like the passing secret games or whatever, that you end up with some crazy story than what you started. That's how I feel the techniques are in grappling in comparison when I come here. When I come here, it's like I get it from the source as to why mechanically it all makes sense and how to mechanically apply it and the way the body moves and everything. But in some other places that I've learned grappling, it seems like a little bit of a pass down to where it's close, but it's not right there to where it's an undeniable move.
Do you feel like a lot of MMA fighters neglect jiu-jitsu?
A little bit, yes, but I feel because it's it kind of goes into like waves, right? There's you can see like there's a certain division, for example, that you would see a more grappling based division, and there's some divisions where people just strike more and have really good takedown defense. So I think that plays a factor in it. I feel for me as a female, grappling is more of a factor because women are they're very flexible. They like to take the fights to the ground. If they lack any type of punching power or any type of damage, once they get to the ground and elbows are implemented or submissions, they can be very, very lethal. And with women, we're usually training with men, so it's it's like the art of having an offense with when you lack a little bit of that strength in comparison to your opponent. And because fights start on standing, sometimes you don't get a lot of grappling, and also because of the time that you have 5 minutes. You start uh between that and getting a takedown, let's say a minute and a half, 2 minutes, you don't have a lot of time to work on the ground. And when we see grappling, right, there's some positions where somebody, like, the best thing for you to do is to wait. And if you're in the match, you're like, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, I only have 5 minutes to work in this round, or if I'm going to lose, how is that going to happen? So it's different factors that play into it. And I've spoken to some fighters that just say, well, I'll just get up and I'll just do this, and it's great until you face somebody who could stop you doing all that, and then you kind of feel out of depth, and I just don't want to feel that way.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. JJ Aldrich, she's a veteran. She's fought 14 times in the UFC. That's insane. How do you assess her?
Man, I have always had so much like admiration and respect for her. Like I would always tune in to watch her fight. She's a very intelligent fighter. She has, like, a good game plan, a good approach. She is as tough as they come. I mean, and not many people have gotten past her. She has what, six more victories than I do with the same amount of losses. I mean, this is not at all an easy fight. It's a very complicated one where she's the more experienced fighter, which is different to her my last two opponents, where I had the experience advantage. I'm now at the point where she has that over me, and she, like, she'll be calmer in there, and she'll have so many more advantages over me based just on the fact that she's a veteran. And then if you add, all of her skills and attributes, that's an even harder opponent.
Yeah, but when you really like break it down to the nitty gritty, she's a striker, right? She likes to strike, and that's her purpose, right? She wants to keep it standing. You're more of an all-around fighter. Would you consider that?
I guess so. I think she chooses to strike. I don't think that she's not well rounded because, like, we've seen her take the fight to the ground. She even, not in the last fight, but the previous one, she got a ground and pound finish. I don't think that she's not well rounded. I just think she chooses to strike because that's what she likes more.
Yeah. And how do you feel about that? How do you feel about going in there and possibly striking for 15 minutes?
Let's do it. That's awesome. I think I remember it was like, I don't know if it was like The Tough or something, where I saw an interview of her, and she was like straight face. She was like, I just want to stand and bang. And I swear, like, I laughed for like the longest time. It was just the way she said it. It was, it was so true as to how she felt. Yeah, man, like, I'm excited for this fight. I think it's going to be a good fight for people to watch. I think it's the first fight of the night, which is, great for me. But yeah, I think it's going to be like a really fun fight, just based on the fact that she's always fun to watch, and well, hopefully people think that about me too.
Yeah, for sure. So the rest of your camp, you just gonna stay in the States, or do you have another location after New York that you're going to, or are you staying in New York and then you're going to I believe the fight's in St. Louis, right?
Yeah, no, I'll stay in New York, and then I'll fly to St. Louis on 5 weeks.
So you just working at Renzo's, ride out the rest of the camp, and then go to St. Louis. Sounds pretty smooth right there.
Sounds
Smooth,
what?
smooth.
Sorry?
It's like a smooth sailing. You know, you have to go back to the UK, then come back. You know what I mean? It's pretty smooth like that.
Yeah, yeah. No, it honestly like it it's given me so much more confidence this time because the last time it was a bit of a trying it out. You know, it's not like I hadn't trained there. I had trained there before on previous trips to the US, but it just worked so great for me specifically for the way that I learned, for the way that I put everything together. It was tailored to me. I don't think I could do anything any better in the training regard, in you know, in the aspects of where I'm training, the groups that I'm with, and the way that I've structured my training, the way that Dan structured the training, to be honest. It's not like I've done a good job structuring it before.
Well, it's good to have somebody that does that for you. That's what's a real coach. You know, that's a real coach. A real coach is not gonna let you decide what's going on, right?
Yeah, no, it's great because you know, like I've seen an interview with Sean O'Malley where he's like, well, you know, I'm the captain and like I run it, and of course I listen to my corner team, but I can program the sessions like this. I don't feel like I am at that level to be able to do that, and you know, I haven't trained properly for fights before, and that's a big difference coming in now. Not only is everything that Dan's taught me and implemented into my game, but also the way that he's taught me to set up training camps and how to maximize my time and just my abilities. And yeah, I feel like it makes a massive difference because sometimes also from mistakes that he's made from, you know, overtraining or doing too much of one thing that isn't fight related, but you know, you're kind of there, and it's him having gone through that and shaving off all those excess. He calls it like the excess fat of it, and yeah, I feel like it's working out pretty well.
Yeah, definitely, it is working out. Well, you know, you're winning, so that usually shows that it's working, right? Yeah. So how do you envision the fight? You know,
there's many ways really, because I mean, I feel like you have to envision it a few different ways, just because you may have a plan, but so does your opponent. And then if you put that together, and then if something lands, there's so many variables that can take into place in there. But I just feel like it's going to be a fun, constant pace fight. You know, I don't feel like there's going to be many moments of breaks in the fight. I feel like it's going to be constantly something happening. So a very high pace, striking, dominant fight. But yeah, I mean, if it goes to the ground, I'm pretty happy about that. And if it's striking, I'm pretty happy about that too. So yeah, I feel good about this fight.
outside of you know, the fight, you know, the new drug testing has come in to the UFC, and they've been suspending people, like serious suspensions, right? Like Walt Harris, I think it's 3 years or something, and then there was another guy, a lightweight, he got 2 years suspension. Man, they're like really making examples, right? It seems like they're doing a better job than USADA, I guess.
Wait, didn't he get caught for like just straight steroids?
Yeah, he got caught for a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like USADA hasn't done that before. I feel, you know, like Amanda Ribas was, you know, had for steroids. She was actually supposed to be like one of the first fighters to fight, and then had a 2 year that she didn't compete. Before, I think, her first fight. We had Amanda Lemos had the same issue, and she had 2 years off. You know, it has been caught by USADA before. I think maybe because it's a new system, they might be trying to be a little bit more vocal about it working. But I do feel like USADA was pretty spot on with it. I will say I feel there's a little bit of a quality dip in the testing.
I heard that.
In the testing containers.
Yeah, I heard that.
You know, it's definitely not a glass bottle with all the perks and the technology. It just, the testing kits itself just don't look as high quality.
Yeah, I talked to other fighters. When they got tested, they said the same exact thing. They're just like, USADA is a little bit more.
You feel like you can do this and like break the thing, you know? The other one was a glass bottle where you just went like that, and you just like, you know, it was like a whole workout to close the thing, and there was like stickers, and there was boxes, and there was like iPads, and in that quality, I'm not saying anything about the testing itself. I just feel like the kit to test, and as well as the letters that they tell you, because I've been tested only once, but I was tested, and then I got an email like, congratulations, like, you know, you're not tested for anything, but it was like less than a paragraph in the email, and then USADA used to get, you know, this whole official letter with. So there's some changes, there's some like differences in the testing that I find, but yeah, I'm not gonna comment too much more.
But you know what? It's a huge financial endeavor to be testing fighters, right? You know, the UFC's doing it, PFL, I believe they're working with USADA now, and it costs a lot of money, you know what I mean? Like, I think people forget about that. They forget about that. It's like, you should test everybody all the time. It's like, come on, it'd be a huge...
Yeah, I do agree it costs a lot of money, but I don't think like they don't make a lot of money. You know, it's not like the profit isn't a ridiculous margin to where at least you can make sure that these fighters are safe, because they are putting a lot on the line, and to save a few bucks on a test or how it may or may not be it's not fair. It's really not fair, because, you know, we put our lives on the line, and the thing is, you can see a fight now and they can walk out and they can be okay, but who's talking to these fighters 10 years after, 15 years after, where their families have to put up with the fact that they're slurring their words? You know, like, in that aspect, I do feel like it may be a cost, but it's something that is important for the safety of us and our families, and you know, the people around us, and the sport, man. There's like, nowadays there's kids that are 15, 16-year-olds they're wicked sick, that are great, but I don't want them to be in a position where, you know, because the drug testing is a bit expensive, for them to be having issues like later on, you know, because these are very skilled athletes. So yeah, I do feel like even if it costs a bit more, it's something that it needs to happen.
Great point you make. I didn't even, you know, I've been thinking about it like that, but like you describe it better than I do. May 11th, UFC Fight Night, St. Louis. Man, they just put you on the cards in front of the crowds, right? Just that's what they're doing now, right?
Yeah. Maybe they just don't. They're like, don't call me for the Apex fight. If it's in the Apex, I'm gonna be, I don't know, I'm gonna be sick that weekend. Like, that's in 3 months. Yeah, no. You know what? I read my horoscope. My horoscope says that weekend, it's not happening.
You know what I think? I think your next fight will probably be in New York. Just maybe that you'll have good luck like that, you know? Possibly. I don't know.
That'd be sick. New York, or Manchester, Paris,
Atlantic City.
Oh, they looking to do one in Madrid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one, right? That's the one for you. All right, Veronica. Always good catching up with you.
Hopefully, in one of those.
Yeah, always good catching up with you, and
you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.